Portugal Internet Week 2010. De 10 a 17 de outubro, acompanhe as diversas iniciativas que vão tornar Portugal um caso de sucesso na economia digital. Mais informação em portugalinternetweek.com.
Allow me first to introduce to you EMOTA. This is the European E-commerce and Mail Order Trade Association, a very long name, so we mainly use the abbreviation EMOTA. The association has already been set up in the 70s, so it's quite before the advent of the internet, as a advocate for the interests of catalog business at that time, of mail order business. And then more and more channels added to this way of business. The European Union then found a technical term for it, the distance selling, meaning that this is a way of doing business without a physical presence of the two parties who deal with each other. And the internet now added as a very dynamic channel. It becomes more and more dominant, the dominant sales channel all over Europe. We are based in Brussels. We lobby for a barrier-free market for distance selling and for e-commerce in particular. We lobby for a business-friendly legislation on data protection. It has already been mentioned partly also by Tomasz. We have concerns for the moment in this respect because there is a big review going on. I will say a bit more on that later on. We advocate harmonized consumer rules across Europe. I will also say a bit more about that later on, and for liberalized European postal markets. We have 22 national members. Members are national associations, meaning we have no direct company membership. We partner with ethical business suppliers. We have at the moment two business partners. One is the Belgian Post International and one is Trusted Shops. And our Portuguese member is ACEPI. I'm happy to say here you have on the picture Alexandra and me when we shake hands to conclude the ACEPI joining EMOTA. We have already seen this morning figures on the development of e-commerce at European level, and we saw also extracts from data from Eurostat. Here I brought this slide. This is also based on data of Eurostat, the European Statistical Office, which shows the increase, the good, really fantastic increase of online purchases in the EU. They have increased from 20 to 37% within 5 years, and this despite of crisis. We should always bear that in mind. The times have not been so easy lastly, but still the internet business, online business is doing very well. The Portuguese figure that Eurostat gives, because this is the 37% is an average figure. The Portuguese figure is 13%. Alex showed earlier a 16% figure, so it comes closely. But he also mentioned this is without the purchases that Portuguese consumers do on the ATM, the Mobile Banco, is that right? Multibanco. So it's always a bit difficult, but all of those of you who work with statistics know that the difficulties are always there when it comes to measurement. Eurostat bases, or at least the extracts that I brought, are based on consumer surveys. So this was a survey among households with at least one person aged older than 16 and younger than, did I say that right? Yes, and younger than 74. I said that this is an average figure. Let me show you this map. You can see that there are big differences in the share of population buying online. You can see in dark green the Nordic countries are big online buyers, and in the lighter the green, the less high is the percentage. This has in great part to do with internet access. We have heard that also from the previous speakers already. And there are projects now launched by the European Commission to improve the internet access. The ambition is that everybody gets internet access, and this is, of course, one of the preconditions also so that people can buy online. Not the only one. We have also heard this morning about skills and knowledge and digital literacy. So one thing is to have access, but one thing is to use it actively and to have the knowledge and the trust to use it. But this is interlinked, and having access is very important. We have seen this morning also an impressive figure about Portugal. It ranked third as far as broadband access is concerned. So this is a very good sign. And the online purchases will follow very soon. There's great, huge growth potential. Cross-border, this is the big concern of the European Union, and we are talking this morning about the single market, meaning everybody can buy everywhere in Europe and everybody can sell everywhere in Europe. This is the theory. The reality is still not corresponding to that. And the European Commission is concerned about. Here you can see, again, Eurostat figures about this level of cross-border purchases. And interesting, yes, it is big enough, you can see it. Smaller markets, consumers in smaller markets have more tendency to buy in other countries. You can see here Luxembourg, that's more than 80% buy in another country. And the bigger the market, the less incentive seems to be there. So you see here, you have the UK with 17% and Germany with only 16% of people buying in another country. This is here expressed in dark blue. And what is light blue is purchases from a local e-retailer. Again, average figures. And what we also question sometimes, do the consumers always know that they are engaged in a local or a cross-border business? There are companies that take the business model to sell from a central point and to serve consumers all over Europe from their headquarters, where they have their stock. And there are others who set up distribution networks in the countries where they have interest. But this may not always be so clear to the consumer. So in a consumer survey, the answers may not reveal whether the consumer has this knowledge or not, if you understand what I mean. So but as I said before, statistics are always a delicate matter, but still useful when we have them. So, Thomas had a nice slide, the threat of regulation. Well, e-commerce is in the spotlight now, not only in our spotlight and of the media, but also the legislators. There are question marks. Data protection already mentioned. Big review of data protection legislation. What happens to the data that people leave online? Compliance handling. What happens if I order something in another country and then what I receive doesn't correspond to what I wanted? Who can help me if there is a dispute? To whom do I address to? In which language? Lack of confidence in general, lack of, I would say, there's an insecurity in the transaction when it comes to sell or buy from one country to the other. Consumer protection, big hot topic for the moment, the review of the whole consumer protection legislation in place at European level. So the question is there a need for European legislation action? And if yes, up to what level, or can self-regulation also be a means of solving the question of confidence and trust? It was already mentioned by Thomas earlier as well. Here are now extracts, I must say, because this is not all what we have to deal with for the moment, but this is an extract of the regular trends which have an impact on e-commerce, and there you can find the privacy concerns, privacy matters. There is a new e-privacy directive adopted very recently. It has now to be implemented into national law by all the European member states, and this directive addressed also the issue of cookies. So cookies all of a sudden became were in the spotlight, and we had to try to avoid that they are diabolized. So cookies are all spying around and doing then something they should not. Traders are then in a position to do something they should not with the data. And we try to make aware that the online experience of consumers is improved by these cookies. For instance, you can have shopping baskets. Or there's a kind of a memory where you can shape a greeting when welcome on again, Miss Susanne, on our website, and people like that. So that there must really be a good balance between what needs to be regulated and what should not be regulated, and transparency is certainly key in this context.